I come as the bearer of amazing news today because Riverdale has finally ended. After 7 long seasons, the actors are finally free from their chains and free to actually live their life away from Riverdale. I can only imagine the burden that has been lifted off of their back. They were probably feeling like Atlas carrying this show. But dear God, this show has been through so many ups and downs. In the matter of 7 seasons, they started out as like this typical, normal little high school drama show. Then they transitioned into like a murder mystery kind of thing. And then it turned into a musical. Then it turned into like Wakanda. And then they went to the Vampire Diaries. And then they did like a whole superhero MCU thing. And then they released a bombshell there in the final season, showing that Betty, Jughead, Archie, and Veronica were all in a quad relationship, so they turned it back into like a romance story at the very end. The show was all over the place. A visual representation of what this show was is this video right here. What they basically did was wrote a bunch of ideas on a board, shit in their hand, flung it at the idea board, and then whatever idea it landed on is what they did that season. That is how Riverdale has been ran. That, or it's like that South Park episode where the manatees just get the idea balls. There's just no rhyme or reason. There's no method to the madness. The show sucks. It's on the CW network, so you know it's gonna be a stinky little turd. All turds are stinky, but this one is like extra stinky. Like you just piled up on a bunch of, you just ate a whole bunch of Taco Bell and it's like some vicious poops, like some real squirters. I don't know why I'm getting descriptive with the poop, but you understand what I'm saying. Riverdale is pretty much the CW's golden goose. It's one of their better shows in my opinion, and it still sucks. It's one of the longest running as well. And I personally have been watching the show since it started. I religiously watch this show. I knew it started sucking after like season 2. Season 3 on, it was god awful. But I kept watching. I was so dedicated to it. I knew in my mind I wasn't enjoying the episodes, but I knew that I was too far in to turn back now. I might as well see it through to the end. And season 7 just recently came out. I watched about half of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't watch all of it. I kind of skipped. I watched the first couple episodes and then watched the final episode. And it's horrible too. It's not great. It's not good. It's not really enjoyable. I just wanted to watch it so I could make this video and talk about it. Anyways, I want to show you this Twitter post here that kind of made me make this video because I forgot Riverdale existed. I stopped watching the show. I suppressed the memory of me ever watching this horrible monstrosity of a creation right here. But this tweet from Popcrave sparked the memory in my brain and made me remember it all. Came back like Vietnam War flashbacks. I had PTSD and everything from it. They said, the Riverdale series finale reveals that Betty, Jughead, Archie, and Veronica were all in a quad relationship with each other for over a year. And I gotta say, that is a very Riverdale way to end Riverdale. Like, if Riverdale was gonna end, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it doesn't make sense, but in terms of Riverdale, yeah, it makes sense. I would expect nothing less. But regardless, after seeing that tweet and that little bit of information, I just feel like I felt like it was my duty as someone who sat down and just peeled my eyes open, strapped myself to a chair, and forced myself to watch every single episode of this show for the first 6 seasons that it released. The week that the episode released, I watched it. For 6 seasons. I felt it was my duty. No, it was my obligation to talk about it and just send it off on a final farewell and just talk about it, pretty much throw it this little funeral service here and bury it and then spit on its corpse, because that is what it deserves. The show is now dead. The show is canceled. I will now be disrespecting it. I will probably even Fortnite dance on top of its corpse. So it is going to get very disrespectful. Sorry in advance. Not actually sorry, you don't really care. This show sucks. Nobody likes this show. If you like this show, then you definitely hate yourself an immense amount, and you should probably get some help, because nobody in their right mind enjoys Riverdale past season 2 at the most. Because past season 2, there's no cohesive story, there's nothing to grab onto, nothing of substance. It's literally just gobbledygook. It genuinely makes no sense. There's nothing to enjoy because they don't make it enjoyable. They just make it stupid. Even in the first season or two, I'm making it sound like it was actually a good show. It wasn't. It was mediocre. It was like a 6 out of 10 at best. It's like you see like this random person walking down the street and you're like, oh, that person's kind of attractive, but like they're not so attractive that I actually want to go talk to them. It's that kind of thing. Like the show, it's all right. It's something. Some effort was put into it, but it's not nothing. I'm not gonna like blow a load over it. I'm not gonna go tell my friends to watch it and tell my family that I'm watching the show. I'm not gonna admit to anybody that I'm watching this show. It's pretty much like a dirty, guilty little pleasure. But if you watch it past season 2, when it starts to get into the superheroes and the witches and the Dungeons and Dragons ripoffs and the comic book spinoffs and all this kind of stupid stuff, that's the point where it's not even a guilty pleasure. It's not even something that you should hide as a dirty little secret. It's something where you genuinely need psychiatric help. Because no human should... This isn't for human consumption. I can speak from my own personal experience. Watching that show did irreparable damage to my brain. The show had to have been written by aliens or something that don't understand human emotions and how high schoolers actually act. And first of all, the actors that are playing high schoolers are about 30 at this point, so that's something. But it's like this whole thing was written and directed by aliens who roughly have an idea of how human life works and how high school life works. But at the same time, they have absolutely no fucking clue. They don't know what's going on. They're just guessing and going off of what they know from pop culture, which turns just into just this terrible mess that is Riverdale. And also Rivervale at one point when they did the whole Twilight Zone thing. Because yes, they did that. And then it went back to Riverdale, but in the comic book times back in like 1950 where they dressed up like their comic book companions. It just gets really messy. It's not explainable. It may sound like I'm just rambling and not making sense, but that is the way the show is laid out. The show doesn't make sense itself. I'm probably making it sound better than it actually is. Like you tell me, how does a show start out as being like a little drama between high schoolers and then there's a murder mystery involved to turning into literal superheroes, superpowers that these high schoolers now have, alternate universes, angels, Rivervale, they go to a literal, they jump through time. How does all this happen in a show? A CW show. Well, it's first, yeah, that's a good explanation. It's a CW show. That's exactly how it happened. They're a good prime example of quantity over quality. Nothing they've done is quality. All they do is quantity. That's why there's 7 seasons of Riverdale, and there's like 30 seasons of The Flash. I don't know if The Flash is good. I'm not going to watch it because it's on the CW. But Riverdale, there's 7 seasons of it, and about 90% of the show just feels like no thought, not even a single thought was ever put into it. I don't really know what else to say. I'm kind of just rambling at this point. That's what I do in all my videos. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I just basically wanted to talk about the ending, how they said they were in a quad relationship, and then just rant and ramble, say my thoughts once again, because I've made a video on Riverdale before, but I wanted to reiterate how much that I just feel like I've wasted hours of my life watching this show. Because like the final season had 20 episodes and they're each 40 minutes apiece. So just round up and say an hour for each episode you're using to watch this, and there's 20 of those. So that's about 20 hours of your life. Maybe go down to 15 if you want to be like more accurate. But that's about 15 hours of your life that you're never going to get back for subpar. I would even go below subpar content, TV content. Anyways, I'm getting far too off track at this point. I think I've said all I wanted to say. I love Riverdale, but at the same time, I so desperately hate it. I don't like anything about it, but at the same time, I love it. It doesn't make sense. It genuinely doesn't make sense, but I'll catch you in the next one.